Today we will discuss the role of a teacher of the visually impaired, or sometimes called TVI. A TVI is typically a licensed special education teacher who has received certification and specialized training in meeting the educational needs of students who are blind or have visual impairments, ages birth through 21. States vary on the criteria for certification as a teacher of students with visual impairments. This is an instructional position as opposed to a related service or vision therapy. The role of the teacher of students with visual impairments is to provide direct special education services specific to vision loss. The TVI provides support to students, teachers, and parents and acts as a liaison with community services. The TVI works with the educational team by advising ways of enhancing the student's learning by adapting activities and materials to the student's abilities. Although the TVI is not an academic tutor, they may spend some time ensuring that the student understands concepts introduced in academic courses. Community services could be Office for the Blind, voc rehab, future disability coordinators at colleges, and possible employers for job shadowing. As part of determining a student's eligibility and the impact of the visual impairment, the TVI will need to have the skills and training to read and interpret medical eye reports. The TVI will determine the possible implications thereof for educational and home environments using the eye report, observations, informal testing used during the FVLMA. The TVI will conduct Functional Vision Learning Media Assessments, or FVLMA, to determine how much usable vision a student has to perform visual tasks. This assessment is initially conducted to determine the need for services from a teacher of students with visual impairments and to determine appropriate goals and level of support needed. The evaluation is updated at a minimum of every 3 years to determine ongoing eligibility and need for school-based vision services. This evaluation is conducted even if the student has no usable vision. The TVI may also recommend appropriate specialized evaluations as needed, particularly a low vision, orientation and mobility, and adaptive physical education. The TVI will need to communicate with the team members on how the student's visual functioning may affect their school performance by providing information on the student's learning style, utilization of visual information, and other strengths unique to individual students who are visually impaired. The TVI will identify any goals and objectives in specialized areas related to the visual needs of the student. The TVI will also identify instructional methods and materials for meeting goals and objectives. The TVI will also recommend appropriate service delivery options, including class placement, physical education, related services, special equipment, adaptations and testing procedures, and timeframes for implementation. Consideration will be taken as to the current and future reading and writing media for the student with a visual impairment based on reading distance, reading rates and accuracy, portability of reading skills, visual fatigue, and tactual sensitivity. The TVI will also assist in determining and procuring classroom equipment and materials necessary for the student with visual impairments to learn, including ensuring necessary room modifications and lighting changes. They will also provide the classroom teacher with information regarding the specialized strategies needed to teach a student who is blind or visually impaired. Some of the equipment that they might acquire is a brailler, low vision devices, computer, braille materials, recorded materials, or enlarged materials. In Kentucky, most of our materials of this nature are obtained from the American Printing House for the Blind, or APH, in Louisville, Kentucky. The TVI conducts ongoing observations of the student in a variety of familiar situations, performing routine tasks or activities to assess how the student is using their vision. Ongoing observations allow the TVI the opportunity to notice any changes in vision that may require adjustments in educational programming. In doing this, the TVI can find out what motivates the student to look. The TVI will use objects and activities similar to those that have been motivating in the past. It is also beneficial to get an understanding of how the student spends their time. What does the student do? How do they play and interact, and what with? What technology do they enjoy using or not? Where do they go? This is a process to identify the student's existing and desired activity settings. These observations will assist the TVI in ensuring the goals and accommodations, as well as the level of service, continue to be appropriate. Teaching techniques to enhance vision should not be taught in isolation. It is important to look at what the needs and activities of the student are in their everyday life now and in the future that are affected by their visual performance and teach to those tasks. If the family or teachers are interested in obtaining their other objects for the student to interact with, then the TVI can assist in obtaining such items. The responsibility of the TVI is to support the student with what they have everyday access to and sharing information that matches their priorities. These activities provide multiple learning opportunities, and some skills are best addressed outside of the regular classroom to avoid visual and auditory distractions. The goal should be to learn the skills and then begin to transfer those skills during classroom activities. The TVI will want to have ongoing communication with the caregivers and classroom teachers in order to try to develop a better understanding of the student. An itinerant teacher may or may not have the same rapport with the student as they do not spend as much time with them, although sometimes the TVI has been a constant in their educational setting, meaning that a TVI can have students from the time they enter school, pre-K, to 12th grade. A special bond is often formed from these student and teacher relationships. When this is not the case, it is helpful to be in constant communication with parents and classroom teachers who do have this rapport about how they feel the student is doing, if they are addressing the goals, and how the student is functioning. The TVI may ask to observe the teacher working with the student, to observe how the student is functioning within the normal routine and with familiar adults.